we're talking about the idea of the gift box, there was something interesting you said that just stood out for me. You talked about how the gift box, as you explore, hey, people of the tube, welcome back. Welcome back to part 2 of our very robust, rich, value loaded conversations with life coach Bodunde Nemola. And I'm so glad that you are sticking around or that you came back for part 2. I really hope that you were able to glean a little value from part 1. I'm looking out for your contributions, for your response and your reactions in the comments as well. But we're going to go right ahead to part 2, just to glean some mind. I hope you came with your lenses, because this second part of the conversation, we'll be talking extensively more about how to navigate the seasons, understanding how to tie or connect the dots, on this self-discovery journey. And I can't wait for you to glean as much value-added insights as I did in this conversation, because, I also learned a lot as well. All right, let's go. Hi, Daya. Thank you for coming as well on the journey of part 2. All right, guys. Speaking about my life and the current season I'm in, I know that you have spoken about how a big part of your target audience are folks in the mid-career stage. Yeah. And I want us to kind of talk about transitions, because I feel like that's the part. It's at this spot, this mid-career phase, that people actually start to recognize the fluidity or the room to actually evolve and be more, and unravel the gift box a little more. Because you see, I feel like you've spoken a bit about this. When you were born, they tell you, go to school, face your books, just study. And for people who grew up in certain kinds of environment, you're already told you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be an engineer, you're going to be a lawyer. So they put you on a path already, without doing the hard work of exploring or unwrapping the gift box, right? So you're already on a path and you're going. And then it's when people start to come into a sense of self or awareness, and they start to think, okay, there's discomfort here. I don't really feel like I'm in there's some discomfort or friction, because you feel like, like there's some mismatch here. Yeah. That's when some people start to now do the hard work. Other people, either because of the environment or the reaction or just the fear of what that would look like, they just accept and they just go on. Yeah. So that space of finding out what's more, of recognizing the mismatch, disquiet in your heart or in your soul, and just recognizing that there is more. I need to find out that there is more. This is not where I think I want to be. Is something that I don't think many people are equipped to deal with or to navigate. It doesn't matter, and in fact, even for people who seem to have that sense of certainty, people whose maybe your career path or your purpose path was downloaded from heaven, like PDF. It doesn't even matter. The truth is, I feel like once you get on that journey, you will always get to a point where, whether you agree to it or not, or whether you go kicking and screaming, you will be called to push past what you know, to evolve and find out the more. You talk about your journey from development, and public health, to recognizing that at the core of it is the people, and there are other ways to explore and contribute and drive impact. So I want to talk a bit about that. Let's talk about transitions, and how can people find the right tools, or how can people get the tools that they need to navigate their evolution and on that journey of becoming better versions of themselves.
Really great question. I think the reason why I picked mid-career women is because mid-career women have already sort of attained that promised land ideology that we were promised, like if we did this and we did this and
get
we did
grades, get a good job. This accomplished feeling.
Exactly. So they've already attained those things, and then they find themselves at this point questioning, is this all there is to my life? I certainly had that question. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
I am currently.
Before Abraham was, I am. That's what I know. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. So yeah, so people, so at this point in our lives where, we've reached the point where we're actually able to see that, okay, we've done all the things that we were supposed to do, and yeah, this is not really feeling very fulfilling. I kept on looking at my dad, and thinking, wow, my dad must have been such a hero to, he was 35 years in working in the same place. And I'm like, I don't think I can do that. I can't even see myself working in this space for the next 5 years, talk less of 25 years.
Let's just pause and unpack that a little bit. You see, this thing you said is such a taken for granted but important part of how many of us are on this journey of discovery and living and just expressing. The gap between what we saw, our conditioning, our parents, and how we are now expected to live out our lives. Whether it's from a sense of expectation, like, oh, your dad did this, so you should do this, or it's from the other side of, do I think I have the capability to do this? I don't know if I can live this way. Do you think it's a function of the world itself changing and evolving, or it's a function of how do I phrase this? Because there are many things that as you start to grow, it's one of those things. I joke about adulting a lot, right? I say that many times our parents did not really tell us what to expect or how to go on. That we were literally just thrown into the river and told sink or swim. Right. But I'm realizing that on this journey of adulting, two things. One, sometimes our parents really didn't know any differently. They did the best with what they knew. And we have to give them that grace. So do you think it's a thing of the world is a lot more forgiving of you, or more accepting or glamorizing of what could be deemed as failure in recognizing your identity or a plateau where you should be living out from, what you should be recognized as? Let me break that down. Let me simplify that a little better. Do you think that the reason why many of our parents lived or worked or accepted a certain kind of life for the length of time that it did was because that was all they knew, or they didn't have exposure to the amount of knowledge and information that we do now, and resources about how you can actually take charge of the narrative and control the narrative and explore and all of that? Do you think it's a result of that, or it was just a sense of there were no alternatives? If you didn't go a certain path, the consequence of that was just going to be either failure or a lack of accomplishment, or not being accepted by society as someone who was successful, or just being perceived a certain type of way? Do you think that it's a result of that, or we just feel, or it's because why are we starting to feel this way about expectations, about taking a step back to understand why life is the way it is, and looking for resources to navigate life differently, and just basically why is our meaning making process looking worlds apart from that of our parents?
I think that every generation will have what it defines. What is the definition of success, or what is the definition of fulfillment? And I don't think that overall as humanity that changes, but I think that every generation is one step closer than the next generation, based solely just on the fact that there's more resourcing we have worlds of knowledge. We have too much knowledge right now. We have visibility into the lives of others who have attained a fulfilled life, or who are doing something different. Back in the day, our parents' generation, I mean, the most fulfilled person you knew was maybe like 10 houses down the block. So awareness is also key in realizing what fulfillment is. The more aware you are, the more you start to see and want more.
the wider your window is to possibilities.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
or the further your window can see
Yes,
to possibilities,
the
a
more
world
that
of
you can
more
desire,
than
you can even desire, or even try to
envision or
envision
dream.
Yeah. Knowledge in terms of actual people, and then resources. How many books did my dad have access to in the village?
Fair point.
So there were some people who were able to attain great things, but those were in a handful. Those were the exceptions
Little
rather than
pockets.
But now we have so much access to books. We have books from, and it's progressive, right? So we have books from the start of time till now. That everything that was written between my dad and my dad being my age and right now, that's, I don't want to say
that's
my
decades.
age. Yeah, that's
decades of resources.
Of more additional resources that he didn't have.
Yeah. And there's
So
social media as well.
The social media.
So I get what people are capable of doing.
I see Liz starting a YouTube channel, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's possible.
Can do it.
Yeah, so that's that awareness, both in terms of just everything. So I think that there's definitely been a generational shift.
Fair point.
And what I'm sure our parents' generation had to grapple with whatever their ideas of, and it was their idea of what success was, and that was also worlds apart from what their own parents
knew.
So I think that as humanity, we're all pushing. Each generation is changing.
I
mean, just imagine even Gen Zers. What we thought was
impossible. They are pushing those envelopes. They're like, no, boundaries. They're like, nah, we're not accepting of this anymore.
Exactly. So Gen Zers' idea of being successful is not being a doctor, lawyer, engineer. That was ours, and maybe the previous generations, but not a Gen Zer. Like, what is successful is, how many social media followers do you have? How many? And I'm being facetious a little, but it's not so limited to that
structured way of defining fulfillment and success. Absolutely. I agree with you. And just also recognizing that it's okay to explore. I think they're a little bit more fluid in exploring expressions of themselves in different ways.
Yes.
And they are also less preoccupied with other people's perceptions of them.
Yes. For good and bad.
Yes. We were so defined and so limited by, oh my God, what will people say? Oh my God, what will my parents say? My parents be accepting of this. They don't have as much.
They don't have that.
What's the English word? But they don't really care so much about the allowance for
all of that. And I say, there's positives to that, and there's downsides as well. So
it did help, because many of us, I think that the negative of that for us was that many of us stayed in places that killed our spirits. We didn't really get to see much more. I mean, some people are now on their own healing journey and coming back, but it is interesting to see how, like you said, generational shifts of pushing past frame of references, pushing past frameworks, pushing past what we thought or what we see or what we know to be a certain type of success or fulfillment or achievements or accomplishments. We're realizing that there is actually more, that there's a world outside your window. And there's a song I really like, there's a world outside your window, don't let it pass you by. That's interesting. So back to what you were saying about recognizing how that for you looked past what your father could have spent this number of years. And the difference between us now, recognizing that there's already a question about where you currently are.
So I was trying to say that I couldn't fathom. I couldn't imagine doing another 5 years, talkers of 25 years, doing what I was doing, and I just couldn't. I couldn't imagine where the strength would come from to do that. And so I feel like that's why my focus on mid-career women is there. I mean, my focus on women is because I'm a woman. I understand generally the struggles of women, so I can speak more to women than men. Mid-career, again, because I feel like that it's at that point you're starting to question. If I were to tell you new fresh graduates that you're going to get to a point in your life where you're going to question, they probably wouldn't believe me, and I would spend more time trying to convince them. But as a mid-career woman, I feel like many times we're already in that phase where we're questioning and trying to find more meaning, more purpose in life. So I'd like to offer a mindset maybe before tools. Because I think that the mindset is important first, and I think the mindset is important before you go into the practicalities.
Okay.
So the first mindset that I think is helpful is that, and I'll use a scripture to say that. God says, "For I know the plans I have for you; they're plans of good and not of evil." But I think the part I want to point out is the part that says, "I know the plans I have for you." So the two things I want to pick out from there: somebody else has the plan; you don't have the plan. You don't have the plan, and so you're never meant to really know the full picture. You're never going to have the full picture. The second perspective is that there is a plan. There is a plan, and so that's comforting.
Freeing.
Yes,
Absolutely freeing.
To know that there is a plan. Second, and I think it's also comforting to know that you don't have the plan. So it's not because when I feel like it's your plan, then the onus is on you to carry out the plan. But when it's not your plan, then you know what? The plan owner,
some grace.
It's like if you're a project manager, it's your responsibility to make sure that A connects to Z. And you look at the work plan, you look at the budget, everything needs to fit in within this work plan, this timeline and the budget. However, if it's the master, if it is God's timeline and his budget, it's his job to make sure that everything works together to fit in with his timeline. And his he has unlimited resources, but whatever within his structure, whatever he has structured. So it's his duty to pull in everything that is needed to make sure that this thing works. And so that's like the first mindset. There is a plan, and the plan is not yours to know, and it's not yours to execute. I think that frees us. But as human beings, again, we've been so used to for 30 plus years being told that we need to be in charge of our lives. And
I am a control freak. I'm just going to confess right now that, and as you're speaking, it just also, the reason why this is so freeing and so great for me to hear is because I was going to ask you, is it possible to prepare ahead? When you mentioned that, the reason why you're intentional about mid-career folks is because if you speak to a younger person, they might not be able to resonate. Someone like me, you see, many times when I think about this adulting phase and wishing that I had more equipment, more tools to navigate what adulting was going to come at me as I go into adulting journey, is me from a place of wanting to control outcomes and control things. So you see, my question would have been: is there a way to prepare for the reinventions and the evolutions that will be coming? I mean, that I probably wouldn't have seen coming ahead of time, so that. Because I don't think that the evolution journey itself is a walk in the park. I feel like it's such a tough, difficult. I wish that someone had told me some 5, maybe 7 years, 10 years before now that, look, Lisa, this is going to come at you. This is the way to prepare for this shifts in this emotional psychology. These are the emotional psychological things that will ways that or experiences or whatever that will come with this shift. This is how to prepare for it. I wish someone told me that, right? But as you're speaking now, it's also sort of relieving for me to recognize that, look, give yourself some grace. This knowing that in the first place, this plan and the opening, the unraveling of the entire blueprint is not exactly yours, or there's no burden on you to actually be that one. So just give yourself some grace and pause and calm down, take a deep breath, and allow the owner of the project manager, let him guide you on, so that you can now see the picture, in phases and seasons, and how it ties together. So it's really freeing to hear that.
It is freeing.
Yeah.
I think the advice, if I was to go back
in time, if you met your 20-year or 20-year-old self.
I would tell the tool, and maybe going into maybe practicalities, what I would tell them, maybe also a mindset thing. I'll tell them that the best advice I could give them is to know that you're not in control of your life.
Man,
you're not in control. You're not.
I need to hear that.
Even for those who are in the secular world, because who could have predicted COVID? have predicted the crash in 2008. So it's like there's only so what you can do at every point on your life is do again from the faith perspective, rely on the person,
Be nimble.
the shepherd, yes, the shepherd who will guide you. But then just even practically on a day-to-day basis, just know that be nimble, know that make the best of what you can in every season. Try to
be rigid and say I'm on the career path.
No, because life will do a lot.
Life is
Life
fluid.
life will change on you, and
Life is
everything that you
fluid.
thought you knew will at one point not be will change. So
That thing, this what you just said now is just so. I think it's such a taken for granted truth that we need to understand that at every point there will twists and turns that will shake the foundation of what you know life as or life to be, and you need to be in the frame of mind where your whole world doesn't come crashing down because because the settings got changed a little bit,
or a lot.
Oh, a lot. A lot.
Let's not be
a lot. Sometimes it's just
0
to 100 to be fair. To be fair.
Yeah.
But if you live your life from the place where your lens, your default lens is to evolve, is to reinvent, is to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah.
When those shifts happen, the reconstruction, the putting yourself back together again, is not always from a place of brokenness or from a place of feeling like you've lost your entire sense of identity. No. It's from a place of okay, new chapter.
Shedding.
Yeah. I like that.
Shedding what is not needed anymore so that you are nimble, you're what's the word? Flexible enough to go into the new season. And you're light enough to go into the new season.
Light. Oh, I like that. You're dropping, weights and whatnot. That's really so cultivating essentially. I think what I would also take from here is cultivating, especially for those of us who have already started on this journey, is cultivating the mindset to changing and evolving because whether you like it or not, whether you accept it or kicking or screaming, it's gonna happen. You actually do yourself a world of good when you are open to, when you're accepting of the idea that life will come at you with transitions, or that life will bring transitions your way, surprising twists and turns, and you need to be ready or prepared to learn certain lessons, take certain tools, or equip yourself with it. So it's like battle, right? You need to get certain arsenal to be able to navigate or fight certain battles at the next level, or take on certain challenges at the next level will require you to have certain competencies, certain skills or abilities. So the more accepting you are of this truth, the easier an already difficult journey would be for you. And B, as we're just talking about this, I think in addition to understanding the importance of cultivating the mindset and the importance of mindsets, how can we? What are some of the tools, or maybe one practical tool that you would recommend or advise anyone listening to this video to take away with on this journey of transitions that they might already be currently experiencing or that they will experience, in the near future? What are your thoughts about that?
I think that the tool I would recommend would be, above all, know thyself. And by that I mean,
so you're taking us back actually to the start as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I said, I think I said this, that you are to profit from the biggest profit that you will have in life will come from knowing and should I say unleashing or unwrapping
the gift box.
Your gift box. So above all, know yourself. And I'll do a plug for Christianity. Know your creator.
Yeah. And as you're speaking about this knowing yourself, I find that something that stands out for me is the continuity of it.
Yes.
So it brings you back to the fact that you have to go back to the drawing board to do the work of exploring and digging again. Who am I really? Yes. Right? When this transition comes, when it hits me with all its earthquake-like shifts, or tsunami shifts, who am I again?
Who am I?
In the midst of all this, who am I again? What am I supposed to learn here? What am I supposed to discover in this
Yes.
moment? So it takes you back to the drawing board.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean, to really be practical,
Yeah.
by knowing that itself, I mean, study yourself. And what I always recommend to everyone I speak to is everyone has a phone.
Mm.
Number one, get curious about yourself.
Ah.
Get really curious about what your likes are, the things, the moments where you say, "Oh, I like that." You have your phone. I always recommend just having a notes app on your phone, opening that, and just because you carry your phone everywhere, your phone is usually with you in the bathroom. So.
Well,
and I have the best idea in the bathroom. That's why
I think I agree with that.
So have a notes app where you just have write Bodunde 101. Where you just anything you notice about yourself, write it down. Oh, I like red in certain shades. Write it down.
And the art of journaling.
Yes, and then I don't want to say well, journaling is great, but I don't want to make it so big. I want to make it as just in the moments, because not journaling. I think the way I think about journaling is like this long thing.
Oh, really? Because I think about it differently. Because, for example, or maybe because I've always been a notes app person.
Okay.
I'm always taking notes down as I go about my day, to be fair.
Right.
So maybe that's why it feels to me like, let me even tell you something why I realized that I think about journaling differently.
Okay.
At the end of last year, I and a friend had talked about wanted more intentional about the art of gratitude, about practicing gratitude, being grateful.
Yeah.
That daily we would. So we had decided that we would get a jar and I would have sticky notes each day. We would write out what we were grateful and put in the jar.
Yeah.
I started the first day and I couldn't keep up. Let me tell you why. Because I realized that the barriers, sitting down to think about picking up something to write was a barrier to me.
Yeah.
But as soon as I went back to my habits or my structure of always just picking my phone to type out stuff, it became more easy and fluid. If I open my notes up now and show you the number of things the number of times I've written things I'm grateful for, is more than daily. I have exceeded, because for me, it's always the on-the-go journaling type of thing. So I think it's just the reminder that an important technique or tool to knowing yourself is the on-the-go articulation of things. Yeah.
I'm glad we clarified your definition of journaling versus mine, because journaling for me is a little more involved. For me, it's just in those moments of inspiration where you're like, oh my god, I like the way that man treated his woman. I would like that.
So you write down,
oh my god, I like the way her hair is. I like those things, and I'm being very basic right now. But it's in the moments where you're like, oh my god, I don't like working in teams. I like working by myself. Oh my god, I tend to be in certain settings. I tend to be more outgoing than others. What settings are these? Write it down. Or why am I? It could even be a question.
Why did I react this way to what just happened now?
Yeah, It's not really so. It's like Bodunde 101.
Yeah.
And then at some point you'll go back, and then everything will start to make sense. And that's just one tool. I say obviously get coached.
Yeah, absolutely.
To accelerate, because I mean, the amount of time that you would shave off years if you went through a process that was guided and has worked through.
Been tested and tried.
Exactly. So, but another way is just notice yourself. Be curious about who you are. In the same way you studied biology or finance. Study
new
who
subjects.
Liz is. Who is Liz? Because Liz is as complex and as beautiful and as worthy a topic to be studied as any other thing you've studied. Open that gift box and search and learn
what makes up this gift box, what's content of it.
Exactly. So know where you fit in, know where you don't. And it is that you then project into the world, and you go where you flourish. When you find who you are, then you find
the right environment
for yourself.
That's such a practical tool to go away with. I think that if anybody has listened or gone along with us on this journey, you can't say you didn't get value from this conversation at all. So. No, I'm speaking now because I'm not only just sitting here as a facilitator or as a host, I'm also listening and hearing this, for myself. And just as a perfect segue, really, because I believe that this is also a good place. As we're talking about our parents or the generation ahead of us and the exposure they had to resources, you're watching this video is an exposure for you. It is a window has just been opened for you to realize that, look, something as amazing, something as valuable as coaching exists, and you can actually find help, guided help to, explore, to unwrap the gift box and make the most use of it. So I said all of that to just say, you know what, look no further. I highly recommend, Bodunde is such a treasure chest. I highly recommend that you reach out. So I'm going to put our handles and, email address or information in the description of this video. Please shoot an email, reach out on Instagram, and book a session. Find out how you can unwrap the gift box that is you and maximize all the potentials and gifts or treasures that exist in that box. This has been such an amazing time for me. First of all, I feel like this has been such, so many crystallizations have happened for me in these conversations in both parts, part one and the second part as well. And I really just want to thank you, for honoring the days of our little beginnings. Because I'm not supposedly one of them big shows that bring celebrities. Let's not start there. You are first place, right?
We'll find another podcast.
Wow!
Before maybe she even ditches this one and doesn't show it.
No, I wouldn't do that. But really, I'm so thankful that you chose to join me in contributing value in expanding the horizons of both us who are in the room today and any others who will probably listen to this video as well. Ultimately, I'm just thankful, right? And I really just want to thank you again for coming on. Please, guys, I just want to encourage you. Don't keep this to yourself. Somebody somewhere needs to hear about this. It really would even take you more than a second to just click on that button, copy the link, and post on your WhatsApp or Instagram story. Let somebody else, also glean value from this. But remember to like, and if you're yet to subscribe, what are you waiting for? Okay.
Before you go, I just wanted to, when you said somebody's summer, the song that came to mind was "Somebody's Son Don't Find Me."
Wow, that's such a dry joke, but I love it. Yeah. Okay, guys, it's been wonderful. It's been great doing this. Okay, so till I come your way again, remember to go about life with your lenses on, exploring, finding out, why, because seeing really is everything. And if the way you see affects the quality of your life, then you better be intentional about what you see and how you see. Okay? Toodles, bye, people, love it too.